A warm welcome to my students of International Politics. I am very excited to have you this teaching period. My name is Marilyn Delport. My introduction is already in 1.2, the first discussion post, and hopefully you've jumped on there already and introduced yourself. If not, please do. I'm a bit of an enthusiast when it comes to international relations, so I have both academic background in this area, but also I worked in foreign policy in Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Prime Minister in Cabinet in Canberra for several years, going back a little while ago before I started a family and moved back to Brisbane. So I've had a fair bit of overseas and on the ground experience as well. So it's with real pleasure that I come to you and hopefully offer a little bit of my knowledge, but more or less I see myself as a guide, as a mentor. So you're going to see these videos from me from time to time. They're not meant to be exactly lectures, but what they are designed to do is encourage you in the right direction, why we're asking the questions we're asking this week, and ultimately to get you to think in a way that will help you with your assessment. So that's the idea. We're going to have every second week the unit coordinator, Casey, will be running collaborate sessions. So I advise you to at least listen to the recording, but definitely turn up if you can. So you should be able to get a lot of face-to-face contact, or at least see me rambling on, or hopefully not rambling, but giving you useful information. So very quickly this week, because you're probably still familiarizing yourself, no doubt, but there's 4 concepts that we talk about: sovereignty, nation state, international relations, and power. So this week is asking you to go into a news story, and it's suggesting you go into the Twitter feed that's in the modules. You pick one and you reflect on what it says about these concepts. So you should go back into the modules and get a sense of what these concepts mean in the first place. For some of you, this may be entirely new. Just very briefly, and this is not to replace your own reading, but sovereignty, nation state, and power are really cornerstones of international relations and any study of international relations or international politics. So now sovereignty is about really the meaning and the limitations of state independence, really. The fact that Australia, as its own country, has a right to its own laws to treat its citizens how it wants. Okay, so that's really at the essence of sovereignty. The nation state is the cornerstone of the international system. There was a time where the world was actually very much in tribal feudal kingdoms. So at some point, what came up was a nation state, a form of organization, which became the cornerstone of an international system. It's really like establishing the boundaries. What is a country? A nation state, at what point are the boundaries around, what we call someone's economy, where there are politicians to rule and to set laws. So this is the nation state. As I said, please go deeper than I am. I'm just giving you a quick overview. International relations, obviously, relationships between nation states, but also economies, trade and investment. It can mean actually quite a lot of things. Tell me what it means to you. And power as very central to politics, really, of any kind, and that's no different in international politics. I would encourage you to think of international politics as operating on multi-levels. So there's power relations domestically, what's happening inside the country, then what's happening outside the country, between countries, who's aligned with who cares, why. So you get to ask different kinds of questions. So I don't want to overwhelm you with these this week. I would be really happy just for you to choose a story or something from the Twitter feed that interests you and just simply reflect on even one or two of these concepts. If you don't understand them and you want to ask some questions, go ahead, share. But I would venture to say it's really important you do understand these 4 ideas, that you're able to define them clearly right from the beginning of this course, because it will be a cornerstone of everything we learn. All the theories are going to reflect in some way on these ideas of sovereignty, whether it's they're pro-sovereignty or they reject the idea of sovereignty as being supreme. All these theories will in some way relate to the nation state and how important that is in international politics. They will all talk about international relations and reflect on power in different ways. So that just brings me to one other point I really want to make right at the beginning of this course, and that is actually about theory. I know, particularly for students early on, when you hear words like theory, it's like, can I just say theory is a lens through which we look at the world. We actually all use theories every day, as in, by nature, we search for patterns in life. And patterns become a way of thinking, students will act in this way about, okay, I just use one about the word theory. Okay, I've seen a pattern of panic around theory, so I just use one. Now, can I just say, for most of us, our theories are really opinions, well-founded as they might be based on our experience or our observations. It's usually a good idea to stay a little bit open-minded. Our assumptions could be tested and we could actually see a range of other patterns or explanations for patterns. But there you go. Theory is not in itself a very foreign concept to us. However, what does theory mean when you do a course with Swinburne? All right, well, I'm going to answer that because you're going to be doing a lot of theory in this course. And I want you to see it as interesting and useful, not as just, this is what you have to do when you do a degree. Okay, so academic theory is a little bit different. And so when you're learning something like international politics, you're in a scholarly body, a field of knowledge, which means there are certain dominant theories. So for anyone who's a student of international politics, particularly in an ongoing way, there are core theories that you need to understand. These core theories were developed by scholars who are recognised in the field. So what they've done is they haven't only taken observations, experience, opinions, intuition, but they've tested it, they've studied it, they've applied it to a certain area. Whether they're studying Cold War relationships, whether they're studying global relations between countries, trade relationships, perhaps they've decided to focus on gender. But what they're doing is over, several studies, they're actually digging in, they're investigating, they're testing assumptions, they're finding patterns, and eventually they come up with key definitions, key ways to explain the behaviour of states or groups within states, and key ways to make a contribution to the field that's called international relations. So what we're really wanting to see is that you can understand some of these core theories and you can explain them back to us and use them yourself to explain world events. Does that mean you agree with everything about the theory? No. Maybe you don't agree with it at all. I don't know if you've ever done a debate and you've had to take a certain side and maybe you don't agree with it. But the point is there's a discipline around it. And so, all these scholarly learning is about taking you away from opinion, as great as opinion is, and moving you towards understanding what scholars in this field of knowledge are saying. And then there's always room yourself for a bit of critique, but you've got to really demonstrate that core knowledge first. You've got to know what it is. And, some of you might go on one day to do research degrees and challenge or add to or extend some of these core theories yourself. But for now, I'll be looking for you to show me what you're learning. So please, when you start reading about theories and you feel like cringing, look at it in that way. And the final thing I would just say to all of you is that there's no shortcut to reading in this course or pretty much any course in terms of Swinburne, and it will help you. It helps you knowledge, and at the end of the day, I guess, while you're doing a degree, and it's to get a piece of paper, but it's also to learn. So you're going to learn by doing some of your own reading. So I would really encourage you to look at least one essential reading a week. Some more would be good, and definitely for your assessment, you will need to go further. And always look at the course modules and course material as your starting point, because we want you to actually show us what you're learning from the course. Keep engaging with me. I want to facilitate peer discussion, but you can ask me questions anytime as well, and I will be present on your discussion boards and available on email. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to working with you.